Good afternoon, good evening, friends. I've been thinking about this topic for a while. I do a lot of thinking, and it was inspired by the fact that I've met so many amazing, humble people in my life. People that don't have much, don't expect much. I mean, they have expectations, but they're not demanding. And so when I was thinking about the whole "I deserve it," I should have what you should, that I should have what you have, kind of mentality of that I see in society. I remember years ago, I had a friend who I loved dearly, and they were having some financial challenges, so we offered to let them stay with us for a period of time, rent-free, utilities-free, and just to help them get on their feet financially, and said, hey, after 6 months, get a couple jobs. It was only like 10 grand that they had to pay. And so they stayed with us, and they got one job, and then they hesitated getting another job, and they were like, oh, this sucks, and then they had to go to a wedding, and then they had to go to the party before the wedding, and so they had to go another few days early, and they happened to go shopping, and next thing you know, they're further in debt, and everybody else went shopping, and by the end of the year, this friend of ours didn't pay off any debt, and it was just this constant like, oh, well, they have clothes, so I want to go shopping, or I didn't have this, so I bought some, and then I've met people that say, oh, well, I don't have a car, and I don't have, I'm working this job for minimum wage, and it sucks, and I don't, well, yeah, of course it does. I don't even know how anyone survives on minimum wage, but one of the things that, not because I've had an easy life, because I have had an easy life. I've been very fortunate. I've been taken care of my whole life. But because I've talked to people who have overcome these challenges and these obstacles, such as poverty, lack of transportation, lack of support, lack of just training even. Okay, but I've met people and I've talked to them, and I've said, well, one time, I'll give you a good example. I was in Stripes because I had met a gal who, during jail ministry, she was in jail when I met her, and when she got out, she was always complaining about how she couldn't get a job and this and that, and she didn't have a car, and I was feeling really bad, but I was like, well, what about the bus? What about this? And she just always had excuses, and I was like, okay, and so one day I was at Stripes, and I started talking to the lady there, and she was the manager, and I said, hey, what are the job opportunities here, and is it okay if someone's been a felon if they work here? And she said, yeah, I was a felon when I was started at, I think she was 18 when she started working there. She said, I was a felon. I told them that I was a felon, and they said, okay, and now it's been like 15, 16 years, and she owns two homes. One's an investment property. She had 3 cars. She has 2 older kids that drive those cars in her car. Her daughter, who's like 16, was already working at Stripes and already becoming a manager at 17. She took the bus from Calallen all the way into Corpus Christi Town Staples, and she worked her butt off. And she made it, and she's doing well, but she wasn't afraid to do what it took to work hard. And even though she didn't make much, she just lived within what she had. There was another gentleman, he went to our church and talked about how his mom came, I want to say Virgin Islands or something, but he was in the military, but he watched his mom walk a mile or 2 to the bus stop, work 2 and 3 jobs, get up at the crack of dawn, come home dark. And he remembered he didn't really have an appreciation for what she was doing until one day she got mugged, and he realized, man, I have it really good here in America. We're not guaranteed high school education. You go through 7th, 8th grade and you're done, and you figure it out from there. He said, so I realized that I was not appreciating what was being offered to me here, and he started studying really hard and doing really well in high school, worked 2 and 3 jobs, high school and college, put himself through that, went to the military, and he got promoted, and he's doing really well. And there was a cost to it. He didn't feel like he deserved anything from the government or anybody around him. He realized there was the opportunity there with jobs, even though they paid little. He had the opportunity. There's another gentleman who is one of my Facebook friends, and he told me he came from a third world country, and he said, when I came here and I was going to college, I was so amazed because I could spend $1 for lunch. I could have a hamburger for $1. He's like, it was amazing. I love this place. Now, granted, that's not the most healthy dollar spent, but I mean, he could survive and go to school, and he was just amazed that he could do that. I also, and from my point of view, like I said, I was always taken care of. My mom did very well financially. She was a very successful businesswoman. My husband's been in the military and worked very hard, and I've always been provided for. But I remember, when my mom was working and we did well financially, one of my first jobs was at California Pizza Kitchen, and they didn't have an opening as a hostess. And I said, well, what do you have an opening for? And they said, dishwasher. I said, okay, I'll be a dishwasher, and would you mind making me a hostess when you have an opening? And so I wash those dishes, I bus tables, I'm this 6-foot blonde, model looking, and I'm saying that because I'm significantly older and larger now. But, I'm bussing dishes and bussing tables and washing dishes back there, sweating with the guys in Hawaii. And I saw them hiring these girls that were just super ditzy and anorexic. And I said to them, I thought you were going to hire me when you had an opening for the hostess. I said, these hostesses are just standing around and they don't even make conversation when it's crowded. Have you been here before? How are you doing? Have you ever had our food before? Where are you from? Because when there's a wait, it's people get kind of anxious. And they're like, oh, that's really good information. And I said, well, I'm going to quit. And I shouldn't have quit, maybe, I don't know. But, I just said, you didn't hold up to your end of the deal, so I'm leaving. But then they're like, no, please stay, please stay. And I wasn't afraid to work hard, but I think where I got discouraged is they didn't hold to their end of the deal where they said they would promote me. And so even though I didn't have to, and even though I didn't, I wasn't afraid to just wash dishes. That doesn't make me a great person, but what I'm saying is, heck, if I can do it, and I know people that live very simply and live in subsidized housing, and I know it's hard to get in, but I know too many people that have overcome and didn't think too highly of themselves to take menial jobs. And a lot of people don't have educations. A lot of people don't have opportunities, to get that education, get a better income. But you know what? I know one of my relatives who worked at a hotel starting in the housekeeping in California, started in housekeeping, and after 20 years was running 3 hotels. Okay? Didn't go, had some education, but didn't go for training for that, but that person knew the hotel inside and out better than anyone. They started in housekeeping, and they ended up running 3 hotels in California, and these are nice ones too, because they just worked hard. And one of the things I tell people, when I go to jail ministry or talking to the youth or whatever, I think, you guys, if you want to succeed, go do things that people aren't asking you to do. Pick up the garbage on the floor, clean up the rec room without being asked, and don't tell everybody, oh, I cleaned it all up. No, just go clean it up. You see something, that's a mess on the floor or some trash on the ground, pick it up and throw it away. You see something that needs to be done that hasn't been done, and it's probably someone else's job, but it could be anyone's job, and you just take care of it and you don't say a word. You don't tell that person, oh, I took care of their job and, oh, they slack. No, just do it and trust that eventually your good attitude and your joyful spirit and your hard work and your willingness to do the most menial, scrub the toilets, clean the windows, just the boring, thankless jobs. I know that there's a reward in that, because not only does it build our character, but we make our workplace a better place. And in time, I know that you will be seen. I will be seen, and just doing it because it's right and it's good. And for me, my Father in heaven sees what I'm doing, and so I say I live before an audience of one. When I do these things, it's because I know He's watching me and He loves me and He sees it, and He can do what He wants with my life. And whether I'm acknowledged or not acknowledged, thanked, not thanked, I mean, heck, there's people that I think are awesome, and they go out and have fun, and they don't ever include me or invite me, but the minute they need prayer or encouragement, I'm the one they call. So I figure, well, if that's who I am, that's who I am. Let's just be who we are. Let's be hardworking. Let's not demand. Let's just do what's right and let the cards fall where they should. Now, sometimes you're not appreciated and you have to move on and say, hey, you know what? I have a better opportunity over here. I really wanted to stay with you guys, but you just obviously don't value what I've given you, and I think it's time to move on. And there's no shame in talking to someone about it either. Like, hey, do you see any future here? Because I have other opportunities that I can get paid better at, and that I recognize my ability. I'd like to stay here. So I'm not saying you can't bring it up or mention something, but I'm saying too often people, I've known other people that wouldn't go to work and just collect unemployment because it was virtually the same amount of money. Why work that hard if I can get the same amount with unemployment or welfare? And welfare is awesome, and unemployment's a blessing, and welfare is a blessing. And I'm not knocking it. I'm saying, unfortunately, those systems are set up for those who are trying to work or having difficulties and stuff like that. So let's encourage each other to work hard and to just do what it takes. I know friends in third world countries, and they just have nothing, and they're happy, and they walk 5 and 10 miles to go to church and more than that. And it's just like, man, I just pray that I would have a greater appreciation for life and just working hard and doing what I should do, and not demanding, well, you need to pay me more, and you need to pay me back, and you need to give me this, and I deserve this because I did this for you. Well, I should do that for you. And if they don't pay you back and they don't even register it, then if you can manage it without being paid and they don't acknowledge it, just know it was the right thing to do. So that's your reward. Okay. Anyway, I gotta work. Bye.